Everyone, think of a famous philosopher.
Are they up here? We've got Aristotle, Plato, Descartes, Confucius, even Nietzsche, among others. Do you notice anything about them? Well, as the trend of tonight's presentation showed, they're all men.
And while clearly we weren't as original in presenting this trend as we initially thought, the trend still remains. And if I ask you to try to think of a female philosopher, some names like Simone de Beauvoir or Hannah Arendt might come to mind. But try to think of a famous female philosopher before 1900. Pretty difficult, right?
You might be thinking that is so because maybe until 1900, women were not allowed to study or even encouraged to study. That is not true. There have been many notable female scholars on par in erudition with their male counterparts.
Or maybe, while there were female philosophers at the time, they just weren't as good or as important as their male counterparts. That's also not true. Some women made substantial contributions not only to the philosophical discourse at the time of their lives, but also to the current state of philosophy.
We at Project Vox are here to dispel those myths because there have been many important and influential female philosophers that should be studied alongside the existing canon. Students today are owed that kind of honesty.
If any of you are familiar with Descartes, you might have heard of his famous "I think, therefore I am" argument. He also claims that the mind is separate from the body. This is still a hot topic in contemporary philosophy. We still debate how the mind, if it is immaterial, can interact with the physical or material world. Science tells us that physical objects cause other physical objects to move. But if this is true, how could such an abstract thing as the mind move physical things like an arm? Think about it.
Well, the first person that did so was a woman named Princess Elizabeth of Bohemia. This might be philosophy's first historical burn, per se. Well, Descartes never recovered from this criticism, and that is how the great mind-body problem was born, and how philosophy of mind, one of the biggest subfields in philosophy in modern times and contemporary times, was started.
So why don't we learn about Princess Elizabeth? Why do philosophy classes cover Descartes, but not Princess Elizabeth? Even though she was very famous at the time of her life, over time, scholars focused on Descartes' side of the discussion and ignored Princess Elizabeth's contribution. And as time continued, Descartes became an established figure in the historical canon, and tradition dictated that we not challenge the list of figures this canon included. We at Project Vox are trying to change that by returning scholars like Princess Elizabeth to their rightful place, one philosopher at a time.
For each philosopher we cover and research, we study their life, their work, and their influence, and publish an entry about them on our website, projectvox.org. Our intended audience are all students who wish to learn more about these female philosophers that they may not have heard of, and philosophy professors who want to teach them in their classrooms.
We also include teaching and research guides, such as a database of primary and secondary sources, as well as sample syllabi. Our goal is to distribute this information as widely as possible, so that hopefully more people can become interested in the field. We hope that by highlighting the importance of these forgotten women in philosophy, we can encourage more women today to become interested in the field. Currently, in the United States, women make up only 33% of undergraduates and 20% of faculty in philosophy.
And we are getting somewhere with this. Through our outreach department, which handles our Twitter, Facebook, and blog posts, we have received over 54,000 unique visitors to our website and are getting a lot of recognition at conferences. Yeah, so far, we have published over 6 figures on our website and are currently working on a 7th. So with all our efforts, our hope is that when the next generation of students are asked to think of a famous philosopher, names like Princess Elizabeth will pop into their minds.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.